Welcome to Open-Eyed. Join me, Death, and the other three horsemen of the apocalypse, pestilence, famine, and war, as we explore your pathetic human predictions of the end of the world. Live like there's no tomorrow, especially if that's what you believe in. You humans have always predicted the end of days, almost as soon as you could light a fire and inscribe your words for posterity. The ancient Assyrians of Mesopotamia wrote in clay in 2800 BCE, "Our earth is degenerate in these later days. There are signs that the world is speedily coming to an end. Bribery and corruption are common." Why do you humans always think that a little debauchery and a little sin and moral decay means it's all ending? Can't you just have a little fun? Of course, the Old Testament talks of the plagues of Egypt and Noah's flood. I only wish I'd had a hand in that. Alas, there are countless ancient predictions lost to the sands of time, but things really amplify after my favourite time in history, the Dark Ages. In 1524, a group of London astrologers predicted the end of the world by a flood starting in London, based on the observation of a planetary conjunction of the then 6 known worlds of the solar system. It was said that the waters of the Thames would swell to such a height as to overflow the whole city of London and wash away 10,000 houses. The mass awareness of the impending doom was aided by the fairly recent development of the printing press, which made it much easier to distribute incendiary leaflets about the prediction, spreading the panic much further than it might have otherwise reached. More than 100 variations of these pamphlets were written about the impending catastrophe, and a general panic began to spread. Properties in valleys, along riverbanks, or along the sea coastline were sold at a loss, and over 20,000 Londoners left their homes and headed for higher ground in anticipation. Rather ironically, 1524 eventually proved to be one of the driest years on record. English astronomers quickly moved their predictive goal to a date far in the future. Nostradamus predicted in a letter in 1555 AD of floods of such a nature that no place on this world will not be affected, and for a long time everything will be beneath the surface of water, followed by such a great amount of fire, of glowing stones will fall from the sky that nothing or nobody will be able to escape. As with all the man's ramblings, they are characteristically vague and can be applied liberally to all future events. His soul burns with the others. In the hot spring and summer of 1665 began a series of particularly unfortunate events. An outbreak of bubonic plague spread, killing 100,000 Londoners, 15% of the city's population. It was wonderful work by pestilence, truly. Just to give you a sense of scale, if the same thing happened today, 1.3 million Londoners would perish. The Black Death crippled industry. The mass graves dug full to the brim with corpses, skin inflamed and blackened from the disease. You can see why they could see this as the beginning of the end. The following year, in 1666, I gave a baker a little nudge down Pudding Lane. With the aid of a strong wind, a great fire began to spread, and the Great Fire of London engulfed the already weakened city. From the ground Samuel Pepys would hark, for it looks just as if it was us and the whole heaven on fire. Hundreds perished. After 5 days and a destroyed city, the flames began to flicker out. Of course, with 1666 bearing the mark of the devil, the links to the end of days were apparent to a human mind. In 1806, a delightful conwoman named Mary Bateman noticed to her surprise one day that her hens began to lay eggs inscribed with the words, "Jesus is coming." It was soon discovered that she was no witch or soothsayer, but in fact etched the words on the egg herself before reinserting it back into the chicken. She was later hung on separate murder charges and her skin flayed and tanned as a good luck charm. I still have the keyring. On May the 6th, 1910, Halley's Comet approached Earth and killed England's King Edward VII, at least according to some superstitious folk. No one could definitely say how it did, but it certainly did. And that wasn't its only offence. The British also figured it was an omen for the coming German invasion, while the French reckoned it was responsible for the Seine River flooding. One astronomer theorized that the comet would unceremoniously end life as we know it. Cyanogen gas would impregnate the atmosphere and possibly snuff out all life on the planet. Fraudsters quickly cobbled together anti-comet pills, with one brand promising to be an elixir for escaping the wrath of the heavens. Of course it was all nonsense, but I enjoy the inventiveness of these delightful opportunists. During and before 1999, there were widespread predictions of a Y2K computer bug that would crash many computers on midnight of December the 31st, 1999, and cause malfunctions leading to major catastrophes worldwide, and that society itself would cease to function. The geniuses behind most 20th century software didn't take into account the new millennium. Instead, systems would turn back to 1900 or create other errors. It was widely believed that planes would fall out the sky, the internet would cease, and a possible collapse of the world financial system. I almost wish I'd thought it up myself. December the 21st, 2012. Perhaps my favourite mass hysteria. Fueled by a dodgy movie, ample press, YouTube conspiracy theories, and a mysterious Mayan calendar that ended on this date. Earth's magnetic poles would flip, a supermassive black hole would engulf the world, or the planet would collide with a giant world called Nibiru. Yes, the 5,126-year-long Mayan calendar did end on this date. But much like your annual calendar, the world won't end on the 31st of December. You just pick up a new one for the following year. The Mayans just aren't around anymore to make new calendars. I saw to that. There are so many more predictions it's almost impossible to keep track, not to mention those unfortunate souls in cults. But perhaps that's for another time. Me and Pestilence debate endlessly on why you humans predict your mass extinction so frequently. It seems to me you like to hedge your bets, predicting either a spiritual apocalypse like the Rapture, or a physical one like the one I sent for the dinosaurs. And sure, mass media hypes and panics and mutates the predictions infinitesimally, but it's not like they're anything new. Maya scholars have told us for many a year that the Mayans themselves never predicted a doomsday. Perhaps you like to project your modern Anglo-European Christian-centric rapture-believing hysteria through posterity, seeing the past through a lens that warps what they wrote and mistranslates its true meaning. It seems odd to me that how the apocalypse itself, a prediction of the end of days, is used to rationalize the world around you, the past and present. Envisaging a better time past, it provides a very powerful way of understanding the world and all of its problems to a human mind. When we cut through those little brains of yours, we find that you double down on predictions, even when they are proven false. Proponents of whatever apocalyptic prediction dig ever deeper into cognitive dissonance. When the realization that the world is still there, and you're standing there on a street corner holding a placard having sold your home, it's far easier to find some rational explanation. Perhaps the date is wrong. Of course the apocalypse itself is real. The march of civilization is not inevitable. Death comes to us all. That's me. Perhaps if you're fortunate, I'll tell you next time how the world will really end. Don't forget to click that little button. You couldn't possibly want to miss it.